you and President Lee actually are planning to go to China? You mentioned either this year or next year. Could you please share more details about your plans going to China and also President Lee?
Well, maybe we'll go together. Do you want to go together? We can share a plane. We'll save energy. We'll save a little, the ozone layer. Remember President Obama used to talk about the ozone layer, and then he'd fly to Hawaii to play around the Gulf in the 747.
Mr. President,
Would you accept the invitation, Mr. Lee?
중국에서 만약
I was sort of meant jokingly, but if you want, you can go.
대통령하고 같이 가면 좋겠습니다.
I would like to go together with President.
Do I accept? He doesn't accept. If you want to go, I'm going to get special permission. I'm sure you can go, but we're going to have a great relationship with China. I mean, it's happening. You see it. It's happening.
좋은 관계를 가질 것입니다.
They have some cards. We have incredible cards, but I don't want to play those cards. If I played those cards, that would destroy China. I'm not going to play those cards.
Mr. President, on the National Guard, you've talked a lot about Democratic-run cities and states.
Yeah.
Would you also consider sending the National Guard into red states and red cities that are also seeing high crime?
Sure, but there aren't that many of them. If you look at the top 25 cities for crime, just about every one of those cities is run by Democrats. And you know, one of the bad things they did, cashless bail, if you look back on time, when they allowed a murderer out that afternoon, you know, he'd kill somebody and then a couple of hours later he's walking the streets again, oftentimes killing again rapidly. Cashless bail is a disaster. You saw we had a news conference today on that. We're wiping it out in D.C., immediately wiping it out. It started in New York, I must tell you, and it's been a horrible thing for crime, especially violent crime. So we're going to end cashless bail, yes. Thank you.
When will you deploy to Chicago, and how long are you keeping troops here in
Well,
Washington,
you heard the
D.C.?
discussion. I really want to be appreciated. You know, when we go into a city and wipe out the crime, so D.C., it sounds so horrible. I'm embarrassed to say it in front of you because they don't have anything like this. Washington, D.C., sir, has not had a murder in 11 days. Now, he's saying that's a horrible thing to hear because they don't have murders for ever. But Washington, D.C., if you go back and check, it's been many years since we went a week without having a murder. Now we haven't had, and I would say that Washington, D.C. right now is much safer than Seoul. You know why? Because we have a friendly neighbor. We have more friendly neighbors. You have a different kind of problem. We all have different problems. But Washington, D.C. is a very safe city right now. People are going out to dinner. Restaurants are opening. Restaurants that were going to close are now going to stay open. Friends of mine are going out to dinner all the time. They didn't go out to dinner for 4 years. It went rampant during the Biden years. Just rampant. That's why Susie is very close to the mayor and has a lot of respect for her, but I view it maybe a little differently because the mayor would say that it's gotten better. For 30 years it's gotten better. No, it's gotten worse. And the worst day of all was when we just got to office for the second time. And it's in very bad shape. So the mayor shouldn't be saying that violent crime has been getting better. It's been getting much worse. And the day I took office, it was the worst. And we did some minor things, made it a little bit better, but then we said, look, we got to stop it because too many people are getting killed. And we have not had a murder in 11 days. It sounds crazy. I hate to say this in front of this gentleman who I respect because they don't have murders for years. But we have not had a murder in 11 days. And that's going to go on for a long time. And there will be, I guess, it'll happen a little bit, but we have a very safe city. This is one of the safer cities right now in the country. And in a short period of time, it'll be like the border. Nobody came in through our border for the last 90 days, 3 months. We had 0 illegal aliens from the Congo, from South America, from all over the world, from prisons coming in, pouring into our country. Nobody, not one person. And this is done by a liberal group, a liberal think tank. They do the work. Not one person has come into our country. Think of that. It's been amazing. And I didn't have to go back to Congress and ask. Biden could have done this by himself. I did. I said, close the borders. We had the great Tom Homan. We had Christie, as you know, Christie Noem, who did a fantastic job. She's doing a fantastic job. Pete Hegseth has been incredible with the, as I call it, the Department of War. You know, we call it the Department of Defense, but between us, I think we're going to change the name. You want to know the truth? I think we're going to have some information on that maybe soon, but I think because, you know, Department of Defense, we won the World War I, World War II. It was called the Department of War. And to me, that's really what it is. Its defense is a part of that. But I have a feeling we're going to be changing. I'm talking to the people. Everybody likes that. We had an unbelievable history of victory when it was Department of War. Then we changed it to Department of Defense. So that's a little thing, has nothing to do with your country, but it's something that I think you're going to be hearing about or seeing about over the next couple of weeks. Probably that change is going to be made over the next week or so.
Are there two Koreas, North and South, or is there one Korea waiting to be unified?
Well, I know it is two Koreas. I mean, you know, there was one Korea. It was a very large country and a very powerful country, and it was a country that went to war with China. President Xi explained it, went to war with China many times over the last 2,000 years. You had many, I think he told me 51 times. So I remember I went to President Xi, I said, you know, we're having a problem with North Korea. Straighten it out, would you please? He said, well, we have been to war with them. And I think he said 51 times. But at that time, it was the whole of Korea. It wasn't, you know, North and South. And after he explained it, I said, all right, not going to be that easy. I guess you're right. But, you know, you had one Korea, and it was a very big, powerful nation. Now you have two big, powerful nations, but you have essentially a wall in between.
Mr. President, comments, the post and comments you made on South Korea earlier this morning, like raids on churches, going into U.S. military base, purge and revolution. How do you think about it? 이재명에게도 질문드리겠는데요. 저희가 이제 빛의 혁명이나 내란 사태 극복하는 과정에서 이런 이제
Right, I heard from Intel.
그 부분 설명해 주시죠.
I heard from Intel that there was a raid on churches. We're going to talk about that later. I haven't spoken about it yet, but when we meet, and you know that would be too bad if that's the case. But I did hear that from Intel that there was a raid on churches, closing some churches. So we'll talk about that later. I could ask you now if you want.
Mr. President, what conversation?
Wait a minute, please. If you'd like, because it didn't sound to me like South Korea.
아주 간단하게 말씀을 드리면 지금 대한민국은 아시는 것처럼 친위 쿠데타로 인한 혼란이 이제 극복된 지 얼마 안 된 상태고 그 내란 상황에 대한 국회가 임명하는 국회가 주도하는 특검에 의해서 사실 조사가 진행 중입니다. 물론 저의 통제하에 있지는 않지만 하여튼 대한민국 검찰이 하는 일은 검사가 하는 일은 팩트 확인, 팩트 체크인데 미군을 직접 수사한 게 아니고 그 부대 안에 있는 한국군의 통제 시스템이 어떻게 작동했나를 확인한 것 같습니다. 나중에 좀 더 자세히 설명을 드리도록 하겠습니다.
So it hasn't been long since Korea has overcame the political turmoil following the self coup by the former president. Currently, there is a fact-finding investigation by a special prosecutor that was appointed by the National Assembly. And this special prosecutor...
Is his name Deranged Jack Smith, by any chance? They took him from our country. They put Deranged Jack. He's a deranged, sick individual. But go ahead. Go ahead, please. I'm only kidding. Maybe I'm not.
And that special prosecutor is not under my control. And so the special prosecutor is conducting a fact-finding investigation. And I would like to explain about what you said about U.S. bases. They did not conduct a search and seizure of American bases, but they looked into the chain of command and the control system of the Korean military.
Right.
And I would be happy to
That's okay.
explain about this more in detail
I'm sure it's,
during our lunch meeting.
I am sure it's a misunderstanding, but you know, there is a rumor going around about churches, raiding churches. So we'll talk. I'm sure that's going to be worked out fine. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, what conversations have you had with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about what is going on in Gaza? There was a UN-backed report that said there's a famine in Gaza. Based on what you know and what you've been briefed on, do you agree with that?
So, I mean, I deal with Bibi Netanyahu quite a bit, and we had great success, obviously, in Iran. We knocked out their nuclear threat. That would have been a horror show having them have a nuclear weapon. They would have used it, too. We did very well there. Right now, they're talking about Gaza City. There's always talking about something. At some point, it's going to get settled. And I'm saying you better get it settled soon. You have to get it settled soon. And that means, you know, nobody can forget October 7th. People forget October 7th. That was one of the most brutal. I've seen some terrible things, some brutal things. That was about as bad as it gets. And nobody can forget that. With that being said, it's got to get over with. It's got to get over with because between the hunger and all of the other problems, worse than hunger, death, pure death, people being killed. And, you know, I'm the one that brought back the hostages, and I did it with that gentleman right there, Steve Witkoff, and with Marco. All of us, the whole team, we worked together. Even the trade people worked on it with us. And we brought back a lot of the hostages. Now we're left with, would you say 20, Steve, or would you say it's less than 20?
I hope it's 20.
He hopes it's 20 because some could be dead. That's what he means, I assume.
Yes.
So we have 20, but there's rumors that some could be dead. It's a terrible situation over there. Terrible, terrible situation. But it's coming to a head. It's coming to an end. We are sending, you know, we sent $60 million of food over there just recently. And I don't even know if people know it. We distributed ourselves. We're giving a lot of food, spending a lot of money on food, getting it over there. We have a lot of food. We have a lot of oil, and we have the greatest farmers in the world. So we have a lot of food, but we're sending a lot of it over to Gaza, and we're feeding a lot of people. But with all of that being said, it's a lot of people to feed. And I think that we will have, I think within the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have pretty good conclusive a conclusive ending. And it's a hard thing to say because they've been fighting for thousands of years. If you want to know, that's been a hotbed forever. But I think we're doing a very good job. But it does have to end. But people can't forget October 7th either.
Do you plan to attend APEC summit to be held in Korea?
A summit in South Korea?
Yes, South
yeah,
Korea
I'd love
in
to.
November.
I'd love to. Last time I spoke in front of your parliament, and I love doing that. Beautiful respect they had for our country, and a beautiful room. I remember how beautiful it was, and I enjoyed doing it. No, I could see going. I think I'm going for a trade meeting to South Korea pretty soon. You're hosting a trade meeting. So I can sneak away from that trade meeting and we'll go and do something for the president if he'd like me to do that, okay? But so we'll be going there fairly soon. You know about that?
If you attend, then it's a good chance to meet up Kim Jong-un again, or maybe Xi Jinping. Then how do you think of it?
You mean set them up together?
Yes.
That'd be interesting. We'll arrange a meeting between you and Kim Jong-un. Would you like that? That's a very tough question right now. I don't know where that question is leading. Anyway, look, I get along great with Kim Jong-un, and if whatever I can do having to do with South Korea and getting people together, you should get together, right?
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am. Look at that beautiful smile.
Yeah. All right.
And then she'll turn out to be the worst one in the room.
I want to ask about Masca project. Masca project.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. We're going to do that. Yeah. I think we're going to do that very strongly. We're going to have a big, within a period of, it takes a while. That's a hard one to start. Some companies you can start easily. Shipbuilding's a tough one to start, but we'll be doing that. Now, with that being said, we make the best submarines anywhere in the world. We make submarines. We're 25 years ahead of anybody else in submarines. So we do that. We do that. But we really gave up the shipbuilding industry foolishly many years ago. But we're gonna start it up again. We're gonna be making our own ships again soon. Okay, how about one or two more?
Mr. President, have you been briefed on the search of John Bolton's home and office from Friday? Have you been briefed on that?
I have not been briefed. No, I read it just like you did. I was never a fan of his. I thought he was stupid. I thought he was, a guy that only wanted to go into war. He liked killing people. I thought he was essentially a bad guy, but I'm not involved in that. No, you'd have to ask Pam Bondi about that.
Are more raids like that coming, sir? Are more raids like the one on John Bolton's house coming?
More raids? I don't know. You'd have to ask Department of Justice. They raided my house, I can tell you that. They did a big raid on my house. They took away everything that wasn't pinned down, and they took away some of that too. No, they raided Mar-a-Lago. They started that. These were bad people that we had in our government before. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They went into my wife's area. They went into my son's area, my young son. And what they did was a disgrace. But how did it work out? I see. We're in the I guess it didn't work out too well for them, did it? They are bad people. They're sick. They're sick people. And they came in with their guns into Mar-a-Lago, like 98 people. I wasn't there. Fortunately, I wasn't there. But they are very evil, very sick people, that group. And if they would have won the election, this country wouldn't exist as we know it. This country would have been a failed country. And now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world by far. We are the hottest country in the world by far. Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. President Lee met with the Japanese Prime Minister before this summit.
That's good.
So, is there something to discuss regarding the cooperation among South Korea, U.S., and Japan?
I think so. Look, Japan is a great ally of us, and I had a little bit of a hard time getting you two together because you're still thinking about comfort women, right? Comfort women. That's all they wanted to talk about was comfort women. And I thought that was settled a few times over the decades. But there is an overlapping problem with that. Perhaps I'm wrong in saying it. Perhaps this isn't right, but the whole issue of the women, comfort women, very specifically, we talked, and it was a very big problem for Korea, not for Japan. Japan wanted to go. They want to get on, but Korea was very stuck on that. You understand? So I don't know. Perhaps you'd like to answer. It's a good question. It was hard getting Japan and Korea together because of what took place a long time ago. But Japan wants to do it, I can say. Korea is a little bit more tenuous, please.
지금 질문은 그 3자 협력에 대해서.
우리 한미일 협력은 매우 중요한 과제고 또 한미 관계의 발전을 위해서도 한일 관계가 어느 정도 수습이 돼야 됩니다.
So trilateral cooperation among Korea, the U.S., and Japan is very important, and better Korea-Japan relations is also important for the Korea-U.S. relationship as well.
그래서 대통령께서 한미일 협력을 매우 중시하고 계시기 때문에 제가 대통령을 뵙기 전에 미리 일본과 만나서 대통령께서 걱정하실 문제를 다 미리 정리했다 이렇게 생각해 주시면 좋겠습니다.
Because I know that President Trump, that you put emphasis on trilateral cooperation,
right.
I made a visit to Japan before coming to the U.S. to settle the difficult issues that we have.
Good. Well, Japan wants to get along very well with you, and I find them to be great people, great country, obviously. And they want very much to get along with South Korea. And you have something in common, you want to solve the North Korea problem. But Japan very much wants to get along with you, and I'm sure they will. I find the people that I deal with to be wonderful people, actually, as I do with you.
이번에 일본에 가서 이시바 총리를 만났을 때 그 전에 우리가 가지고 있던 여러 장애 요소들이 많이 제거됐다는 생각이 듭니다.
So when I visited Japan and met with Prime Minister Ishiba, I realized that many of the obstacles that existed between our two countries have now been removed.
Sure. During my term. We removed them during my term. There was an overlay a little bit, but we removed many of those obstacles during my term. And, if you look at Prime Minister Abe, who was a great man, he was a great friend of mine, and he was assassinated. But he felt very warmly toward your country, I can tell you that. And the current Prime Minister, who I've gotten to know very well, feels the same way. So I think you're going to have a great relationship with Japan. Steve, go ahead.
Just to close the loop on Gaza, is there a diplomatic push underway to try to get all this to end?
Oh, there's a diplomatic push.
No, is there?
There has been, yeah, sure. Right now, Steve, I would say very serious diplomatic push. Marco or Steve, Marco, do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, it's never stopped. We've always looked to find a solution there. Ultimately, as the president said, we want it to end. It has to end with no Hamas.
Steve, where are we?
I would say that we wouldn't be anywhere but for the president's truth last week, which was a statement to Hamas that they better get their act together and get to the peace table. But for that, it would have been all stalled. So, as usual, he is the man who moves it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.